Well, hello Internet, and welcome to part 8 of my Java video tutorial series. Today we're going to just totally break off from what we've been doing and totally take an experiment here and see what happens. You guys want me to get into some of the logic behind programming, and you also seem to have an insane interest in video games. Well, there is an immense amount of logic in creating a video game, so in this tutorial I'm going to continue from part 7. If you didn't watch it, definitely watch it. And we're going to make ourselves a very simplistic video game, but we're going to learn a lot of things along the way. Now, if you don't catch everything as I go through this tutorial, don't worry about it, because based off your comments below, I'm going to go and expand and explain anything else that you do not understand here. We're going to be jumping right into it. This is basically what our game board is going to look like, what you see right here on the screen. And I'm going to create a bunch of monsters inside of here, and they're going to move around, and if they touch each other, they are going to attack each other and eventually kill each other until there's only one left. Alright, so just basic, this is the idea. And what you're looking at here is really an array. An array is just a bunch of boxes. And this specifically is called a multi-dimensional array, because this would be considered just a regular array, and because there are multiple groupings, or this is a two-dimensional array, we call this a multi-dimensional array. And I'm going to show you how to make those. I'm going to show you how to import new libraries. We're going to do tons of things in this tutorial. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to jump over into our monster.java file, and I'm going to rename this monster2, and this is our object that's going to create all of our monsters for us. And then just quickly, I'm going to scroll through here and make sure that I replace monster with monster2 everywhere below here. And this is going to take a couple videos to get through this whole entire thing. Alright, so there we go. And we've replaced all those guys. And actually this guy we can just get rid of altogether. So what do we need to do? The very first thing we're going to need to do is create our game board. And also, because we're going to be using arrays, I'm going to want to import a library. So it's import java.util.arrays. So there is a new library that we're going to import, and we're going to use some information out of that. And we're going to jump down inside of here, and I'm going to start building some stuff. So the very first thing I want to do is I want to create our multi-dimensional array. And how you do that, I'm going to make it static character multi-dimensional. It's going to be a 2D array, so put two of those little guys inside of there, two little brackets. And I'm going to call it battle board. And you go equals and new and character. And then this is very important. You have to define how big your array is going to be. And mine's going to be 10 by 10. And I'm just sort of like going through this out of my head, so the logic might not be 100% perfect, but I want to do it this way because I think this might be a little bit more fun. So then what we got to do, we need to build our battle board. So I'm going to call this build battle, B-O-A-R-D. And this is just going to be a public method that's going to be inside of our class, a public class method. And then what I want to do, I want to cycle through the whole entire array and give a default value of the star, which you saw previously. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to populate this whole entire array with stars. Let's worry about our monsters later on. So how exactly do you do that? Well, there's this nice little statement. It's created just for arrays. And to make every single thing in the array, you're just going to type in for, and then character, which is going to be exactly what you're going to be referencing. And then row is going to represent a temporary holding cell for all of the stars before they get put into the array. So that's all that does. And then we need to define what is the name of our array. So battle board, there it is. We created our array, and here we're going to populate our arrays. This is going to represent the individual cells. This is going to represent the individual stars that are going to go into these cells. And this is the array itself. If you don't quite get it, definitely going to get into a lot more detail about arrays as we go on. Well then, this is why we needed the arrays library. I'm going to go arrays. And I'm going to go fill. I'm going to call a fill method. And I'm going to say, okay, row, which it represents one of the individual little boxes that we want to put something in. Put that inside of there. And then here where it says arg1 on my screen, I want to say what I want to be thrown in there. And it cycles through all those individual little blocks in the array and throws stars in every single one of them. That's what this code does. Real nice and neat and pretty cool. So what else are we going to need to do? Well, after we go and we put all these stars inside of there, we might want to do something like redraw the board. So I'm going to create another public method that's not going to return anything. And I'm going to just call it redraw board, right like that. And it is going to do exactly what it says. It's going to redraw the game board on the screen. So, you know, nothing that complicated. So what are we going to do? We're going to create a temporary variable or field or whatever you want to call it, called k. And then I'm going to use a while loop, which we talked about in the previous tutorials. While k is less than or equal to 30, because, and this is what I'm doing here, I'm drawing this line right here on the screen. That's what I'm doing, and there's 30 dashes here. So this is like a shortcut, quick way to draw 30 dashes. I'm just going to put it all on one line. System out print. I don't want to do a print line because then it wouldn't put everything on the same space. And this is what I want to draw. Put that inside of quotes. And then I'm going to increment K like that. And then close off the while loop. So that's just going to draw 30 of these dashes on the screen. That's all that guy does. No reason to get upset or worry about it. So system, and then I want to do a new line. So I'm just going to do print line inside here. You know, like I said, I'm just sort of guessing my way through this tutorial. Hopefully it works out well. Sure it will. Otherwise I'll redo it. And then what do I need to do? Well, I need to cycle through the array and put all the little stars as well as the dashes. So this is basically going to draw all this stuff right here. It's going to draw all this. So I need to draw all that out onto the screen. So I'm going to use a for loop. Int I is equal to, and I'm going to say 0 I while I is less than battle board dot length. And this is how you get the size of your battle board. Now you know from up here it's 10 by 10. So that's what this does. Battle board length is going to return the length of the battle board. So how many things are inside of it, whatever. All right, and I'm going to increment I, and then what I'm going to do is when I'm putting these stars onto my battle board, what I need to do is basically go, okay, I want to start with row 1, and that's going to be I, and then I want to be able to target all these individual columns. Well, that is going to be J. So you're going to represent everything inside of your array pretty much like this. It's going to have a bracket, and then like for example, if I wanted to target this guy right up here, this star up here, how I would do it would be 0, 0, right like that. And that would give me the address for this star right here. If I wanted to target, say, this guy right here, well, in that situation, I'm going to go 1, 0. And then that's going to get this guy. So what I need to do is have a value for both this and this. And that is where we have I and J, the two variables that I'm going to be using here in a second. And there's a link to all this code underneath of this video if you want to get it. It'll probably help you out understand where I'm going. So what am I going to do? Well, if I want to be able to target I and J, both needed variables to be able to target that array, well, I need to create another for loop that's going to cycle through everything else that's on the screen. So I'm going to call this int J is equal to 0, pretty much the same exact thing, while J is battle. In this situation, I need to target, you know, not this whole entire row, but I need to figure out how many individual spaces are in each of these columns. So how I do that is I need to be able to ask it, okay, what is the length of this column? And to do that, I need to ask it using I. So this is saying what is the number of spaces in each one of those rows. And then we're going to use length again. And that's exactly what it's going to tell me. And then I'm going to increment J and create another for loop. And then what this guy's going to do is go system, let's go out, and then we're going to use print again on the screen. And I'm going to put the little or sign inside of there, and then plus, and then I'm going to go battle board, and then I'm going to go I and J, which is going to be the location in the array. It's going to contain either the star or eventually the monster's names. And then this is going to draw the whole entire line across the board. So what do I need to do after I draw this whole entire line across the board like I did right here? I need a new line. So let's get one. And let's just cheat and copy this. There we are. So now that's going to print out all the information onto the screen for me there. And then what do I have to do? I need to go and draw my line across the bottom again. So I'm just going to come in here to this guy, and I'm going to copy that, and then outside of this for loop, I'm going to paste it. So this is going to handle the line that goes across the top, this is going to handle the line that goes across the bottom, and this is going to handle all of the lines and stars and everything that is going to go inside of our battle board. Play around with the code, you'll get it. Okay, so what else am I going to do here? Well, let's just scroll through and figure out if we want to make any other additional changes. Well, I think that X position and Y position need to be public fields, so I'm going to change them. And why don't I just come in here, cut them out of there, leave a space in there so that I know I made a change, and then let's just change these to public. I might decide to go back and change these later on, but for now I think they're going to make more sense as publics. So let's just leave them that way. Another thing that I'm going to need to do, because all the letters or all the monsters are represented with a one letter, what I want to do is I want to come in here and I want to create a variable that is going to, or a field that is very specific to that. So I'm going to go public character, and I'm going to go name char1 is equal to, and in this situation the default is going to be big monster, because That's this first letter here. And later on in the video, I'm going to show you exactly how to pull just this letter out of this string. And then we're going to go public static int. I think I might want to track the number of monsters using a field or variable, whatever you want to call it. And temporarily or currently there are no monsters, so we're going to leave it that way. And what's something else that I probably want to do here? I want to find out if this monster is alive at all times, and for some god-awful reason I didn't do that before. So let's provide a way to be able to find out if our monster is alive or not. And we're just going to copy this because it's the basic sort of style. And then we're just going to call this get alive, and it's just going to return whether the monster is alive or not. Then I need to make some changes down here to my constructor for my little monster objects. So let's just scroll down inside of here and figure out what sort of changes I want to make. And one of the changes that I think I really want to make is I want to be able to pass a string that's going to contain the name for the monster. So let's do that. There you are, string name. So then what am I also going to do? I'm going to go this, name, and this is a reference to the object that we're working with right now. And we're going to change it to name, which is a new variable that is being passed along, or a new field. Well, then what do I want to do? I want to define the X and Y for my battle board for the position of the monster, because that seems like that would be something I definitely want to track. So how am I going to do that? I'm going to go int max, and I'm going to go X board space. That means this is going to be the maximum number of spaces horizontally. And how do I get that? I go battle, B-O-R-D, battle board, and then length again, and then I'm going to say -1. Now why did I do that? The reason why I did is whenever you create an array, this is 0, 0, remember? So that means if it's going to give me a total length, which is equal to 10, well, this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So when it kicks back 10, it's going to be wrong. Because if I try to put it in space 10 on my battle board, well, space 10 doesn't exist. So that's the reason why I'm knocking 1 off of there. Well, then I also want to get my maximum space for all of my columns. Just type that in there. Change this to Y. I'm going to go in here and type in 0. And then this is going to give me the maximum space in the column, which is going to kick back. Right here is going to kick back 10. -1 is going to be 9. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. And let me give you an example just to make sure it does. So that means if I want to be able to target this lastmost space, what this is :9, 9. All right, that's this right here, 9, 9. So that's the reason why I'm trying to get that length, because I don't want the monster to accidentally fall off of my battle board. What else do I need from a monster? Well, I'm going to need a random number generated thing that's going to be like where the monster begins whenever everything starts out. So I'm going to go random num x and random num y. Both integers, just going to tell me where to start. And then I want to use a do loop to generate my random space for my monster, and I'm using a do loop in this situation instead of a while loop because I always want to define a space for the monster no matter what. A lot of people have asked for an example of why you would ever need a do loop. Well, here's one. So let's go random num x is equal to, and then I'm going to go int. I'm going to cast this into an integer, and I'm going to generate a random position for my monster times, and then this is going to be max board space. So there is going to be the randomly generated X position for my monster, and then I'm going to generate my random space in regards to Y, and then Y like that. And then this is going to close off. I'm going to go while battle board, and here I'm going to only allow my monsters to go on a space that currently has a star represented inside of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say while, I'm going to continue generating new XY positions while, and I'm going to take the sample that was created right here, paste it inside of there. So this is the new location where the monster may be located, and we're going to say while it's not equal to star, I'm going to continue to generate these guys. So if there's a B there or whatever, I'm going to say, this isn't a star. We need to generate a new XY position for our monster because we don't want to start dropping monsters on top of other monsters, especially when the game starts out. And then what are we going to do? We need to assign an X and Y position to the object that we had before. So we had these guys. Let me scroll up here. See here where we have X position and Y position assigned to each monster object that we create? Well, we want to assign them after we go through the do loop and we realize, okay, we found a position for our monster. Now let's assign it. So we can go this X position is equal to, and then it's going to be what? Random X, because we found out that random X works. And then we also want to go in here, this, and generate the Y position, or assign the Y position. And then remember before, whenever I said I was going to get the first initial from whatever the monster's name is and assign it to name character 1, I'm going to go this, name char 1 is equal to, and then I'm going to go this, name dot character at index position 0, because just like arrays, strings put all their characters in the 0 place and then 1, 2, 3. Okay, so I want the character that's in the 0 position for the name. And just so you understand what I'm doing, see, this is a string and its name is name, and this is big monster, and name character 1 is going to have whatever the first letter for my monster assigned to it. So that's what I'm doing. Remember name character 1 and name, and then scroll back down here, and that's exactly what I'm doing. Name character 1 is equal to this dot name, and then I'm saying I want the character that's in the index position 0 for name, and assign that to name character 1. So hopefully that makes sense. Pretty simple stuff. If it doesn't, don't worry about it. We're just going to force it through here, and I'll explain more as the tutorial proceeds. And then what I want to do is I want to take this first character that we just got and put it on the battle board. So we're going to go this Y position, just assigning this inside of the array, X position is equal to, and we're going to assign it whatever the character is in name character 1. So now the array is going to have a monster character inside of it. And then we probably also want to go number of monsters so that we can track how many monsters there are. Well, we know that if we ran through this constructor, there's now 1 new monster. And let me see if there's anything else I want to do here. Yeah, I want to increment the number of monsters if this basic constructor is called. So let's file save and let's see how we're doing here. Okay, so we're back over in lesson 8.java, and what are we going to do here? Well, I know that I'm going to need this array function, and we're going to get back to this monster. Believe me, there's a lot more to do with it, because we have to define how it's going to move, we're going to have to define how it attacks, we're going to have to define a lot of different things. But I want to import that library because I plan on using arrays, obviously, because there's arrays here. And also, I want to import org.apache commons lang3 array utilities. And this is actually a awesome library that is not included inside of Java. And I provide a link underneath the video that'll take you step by step with pictures. And I just thought it would be easier to explain it with pictures rather than me doing a video tutorial on it. If you want to see a video on how to import Java libraries, leave a comment below and I will. Alright, so now we're down inside of lesson 8, inside of the main method. And if we want to build a new battle board, no problem. We just go monster2.build battle board. And this provides us the ability to call that method that we created over in monster2. See, right here, build battle board. So if we want to call or execute a method inside of the class monster2, all we have to do is put monster2 dot and then build battle board. And that's going to create our battle board for us. See, that's all we need to do. That's why object-oriented programming is so awesome. Because you build all the tools in the background and then it becomes like this easy way of just creating everything else. Well, let's go and create a temporary battle board container as well. And how you do that is just temp battle board is equal to, and then we're going to go new, and this is going to be multi-dimensional array again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create an array that is going to have all of our monsters inside of it. And whenever you want to create an array of monsters, basically the format for that is just going to be whatever the object name is, which is going to be monster2, followed by brackets. And then you need to give an array name. So we're just going to call this monsters, right, like that, is equal to new. And then what do you need to do then? We're going to say whatever the name of the objects that are going to go inside of there again. So that's just going to be the object name again, object name. And this should be the array name, And then here you're going to say the number of objects that you want to put inside of it, because when you're creating an array, you have to define that. And in this situation, I'm just going to say 4. So now I'm going to show you the real thing. So if we want to create an array that's going to contain a bunch of monster objects, we're just going to go monster2, put this little bracket inside of there, and then we're going to go monsters is equal to new monster2. And then if I'm creating 4 monsters, well, I'm going to say in my array, I want 4 boxes set aside to contain 4 monsters. And then if you want to load those monster objects into this array, let's just go monster or monsters. And then in the 0 index, I'm going to say equal to new monster2. I'm calling the constructor file that's going to create all these guys. And let's jump over there just to see what that looks like. So here, If we scroll down, here's monster 2 right here. This is the method that we're going to be calling. So let's just copy that, just so we know exactly what's going inside of there. We know we need to send a health to this, so let's just say 1,000. And we need an attack, so that's 20. And then movement, let's just say this guy's slow and put a 1 inside of there. And then let's just call him Frank. Make his attack a little bit better and also increase his speed. And let's just call him Drac. And of course, we're going to put this in the index 1, this one in the index 2, and this in the index 3. And then we can basically leave the rest of these the way they are. I don't know, let's just create another monster called Paul and another one named George. And then after we create all of our monsters and load them into our array, let's go monster 2, and let's redraw our game board. And we can file save it and see what happens. And there you see, we created our little game board. There it is on the right side of the screen. And here's all the default values. You can see here's Frank. Well, there's Frank's represented right there. And then Drac, he's represented right there. And there's Paul, and there is George. So in this tutorial, you learned how to create a game board, how to make sure all the monsters go exactly where they're supposed to go, and also made sure that they all got an individual space to start their life out and before it all ends. In the next part of the tutorial, I'll show you how to move these guys around without crashing into each other, and then later on we'll teach them how to attack each other. Leave any questions or comments below. Otherwise, till next time.